Hey, Dustin Vanoy here. I wanted to do kind of a quick tour of Synapse and talk about a few things that are really important for data engineers like myself. So let's talk a little bit about what Azure Synapse Analytics is, kind of what it has to offer. So it's an integrated analytics service. Basically, what I mean by that is it brings a bunch of analytics capabilities within Azure under one umbrella into one portal, and with tighter integration than you get if you just take each piece and try to connect it yourself. So that's the basic idea of it, but it's got some new capabilities that didn't exist prior to Synapse and don't exist outside of Synapse. One of which is the managed Apache Spark. So you could run Azure Databricks. You could also do HD Insight, which is a little more a little more work you have to do on your own. But for a simple way to run Apache Spark jobs, spin up pools on the fly, and run notebooks, schedule notebooks, things like that, Apache Spark within Synapse can help you there. Serverless or dedicated SQL, two different ways to do big data analytics or data analytics on top of a data lake. And you can choose between whichever one works for you. A lot of times, both in combination is the right answer if your data is big enough to justify the cost of dedicated SQL. And then Azure Data Explorer is a new capability that if you've used the KQL language over log analytics, I know it's a fit for those types of cases where you have a bunch of log data. Maybe I'll dig in more and share more about why I would use this. So far, I'm not really using this in my production work, so I won't spend time sharing my thoughts on that quite yet. And then autoscale and serverless is something that is really like a driving force underneath this. So with dedicated SQL, you do have compute nodes that you spin up and down. And so often you're going to leave those on and pay for those if you have a real production environment going, but you can stop that if no one's going to be using it. Serverless, you're paying for what you use, so it really is serverless. You don't really have any control over all that, but you don't really need it in serverless SQL. And then Apache Spark, it's going to spin up the pool, run for a while, and then eventually auto terminate on you after you're done using it. And it does have some auto scale capabilities built into it. So to break that down, or maybe it's just to repeat myself, I don't know, but serverless Apache Spark is best for data processing and exploration. I really like to use it for data pipelines. I really like to use it to prep the data in the data lake. And I also like to use it to explore new data sets where I may have to do some more complex processing, or if I'm just used to using Apache Spark, I might already have a bunch of commands and connection capabilities to all kinds of data sources, not just what's in my data lake already. Serverless SQL, I think, is really great if the data has been loaded to a table via Synapse Spark, if it's been put into the data lake where it's easy for me to create a external table on top of it. Serverless SQL is great for querying and exploring the data, and it's good for data extraction. If I have a SQL reporting services or Power BI more likely, and I want to connect to my data and extract that data, serverless SQL can work good for that. There are some limitations about how much data you can extract and things like that. But for a lot of use cases, I think it's powerful for that without having to run a SQL server or dedicated SQL node just to do that type of extraction. Dedicated SQL is more for high performance queries. You're going to pay more for it, but it gives you massive parallel processing, and that's a capability that you may you may hear about as you look at different technologies like Snowflake, like Redshift. And the main thing to know is that's going to distribute your data, and it's going to give you the ability to take advantage of the fact that things can run in parallel, do a lot of processing, and pull that data together in a really powerful way. The storage and compute is separate, but it works together very well, and it allows you to scale quite a bit, quite quickly. I will say the starting pools, the cheapest pools you'll get, aren't super powerful. So do expect, like, if you're trying to figure out how much you're going to spend, do some testing and know that as you get, a good amount of data in there, you probably are going to go past that smallest set of pools. And so it's a good starting point to practice with, but you're not going to get the performance you expect out of those small pools. At least that's not my experience. And then Synapse pipelines are really good for no code or low code data ingestion if that's your thing. I like to use them for orchestration. I like to run Synapse Spark jobs, maybe run some serverless SQL task with it, and load up the data and schedule it through the pipeline. So I can run a lot of things in parallel and have things dependent on it, and do that kind of directed acyclic graph. If you've heard about that with Airflow and with other technologies, you can do that with Synapse pipelines. It's built right into it, and pretty easy to create some link services to other Azure resources from Synapse Pipeline. Let's dive into the actual hands-on look at what you're going to see if you're developing with Synapse.